Good morning, CLC.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your love and presence. Thank you for the great wave that is spirit that washes from me to you and back again. I invite you now, in this moment and at this time, to take a nice deep cleansing breath in, breathing in that radiant light. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. Allow that great wave that is spirit to just wash it away for now, letting go of anything from the past or future. Go ahead and take another nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you release this breath, allow your body to just relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply. filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me. I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I am grateful for the good in your lives.
All right, let's see what I have for you today. What I have for you today is part 3 of a 4-part series. Isn't that exciting? So if you're new with us this morning, you're like, oh no, I've missed half of this. But happily, we've got it recorded 6 ways from Sunday. It's on social. It's on this. We can even, if you want a CD, heck, we'll make you a cassette tape if you want. We'll do what it takes to get you the word. Because in centers like ours, a science of mind or religious science center, that's who we are, for 60, 70, 80, I don't know how many years now, it's been tradition on the first 4 Sundays of the year to do this, to go through the basics of the teaching. And then we lift off from there, and we go out into, when you show up in August and we're talking about high mysticism or something, you'll be able to hark back to what went on in January and kind of plug into it, because it's all the same general theme that we pursue around here, but there are basic points to it, points to this teaching. And today is about the manifesting the Word. We talked about the thing itself being spirit or God or the divine nature. We talked about the way it works, and it works through a dual nature. We'll get more into that today. A dual nature that is a presence and a principle, that is something like an objectivity and a subjectivity. Today we're talking about what it does, and what it does is it manifests the Word. So as Brian alluded to, I'm sitting there thinking, preparing this. I don't prepare these talks, Sunday morning. I give a little more thought to it than that. And so some weeks ago I was thinking about, so what's going on the 3rd Sunday of January? Well, an awful lot to unpack. We didn't know snow was coming. That was, that's for those of you at a distance, we're expecting snow tomorrow night. And for us, that's a very big deal. We all become children here. Nobody knows how to drive anymore. It's a big thing. But it is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday commemoration weekend. His birthday is actually the 15th of the month, but as you know, on the 3rd Monday, it's now a national holiday. It's Inauguration Day tomorrow. And The piece of the puzzle you're probably not all that aware of unless you're really plugged into it is on the 21st, which is, what is today? So that'd be Tuesday, Ernest Holmes' birthday. He'd be 138. That's the founder of this teaching. I'm glad he's not with us any longer. Nobody should be here at 138. He was tired. He went home, you know. But he left something behind. He left something pretty special behind, which is this glorious teaching that we have. And if you want to know more about him, ask me, ask the person you're sitting next to, or look him up online. And we always have classes and book studies and so on to go into. But so how do you bring these three different things together? Well, today is really about the changeless. There is something that does not change, and it contains within it everything that does change. And how you wrap your mind around that is not an easy proposition, but it's what the mystics do, or it's what, more exactly, all of us do when we're having the mystical experience. As we look into the meaning of everything and see within it a value, see within it a standard that is incorruptible, is unchanging through the ages. We all stand on the threshold of change every day. Today, you and I stand on the threshold of great change because we have a new administration coming in leadership in our country. Not only the president and vice president, but Congress and local officials and so on. And the thing I want us all to remember, and I imagine this is probably being said throughout houses of worship and places of faith today, is that our power does not come from the White House. Our power does not come from the State House. Our power does not come from City Hall. Our power comes from within. Our power comes from within. And so we use that power along specific lines in a certain way, in a deliberate and intentional way. And what I've done, I realize looking back, is every time we've inaugurated a new couple of people to go in top leadership in the country over the years, this center, having, by the way, started in the Reagan administration, is we've blessed them. We've blessed them. And there have been, I'm sure, people in the room sitting there grinding their teeth, saying, I didn't vote for these people. But we bless them. Why do we bless them? For several reasons. One is because we have the power to. And wonderful legislative power that you wield is to vote. Other wonderful power that you wield is to bless the results of the voting. The majority of people in this country voted the way they did, fine. Then we'll bless it. And we'll say that the same spirit that guides me in what I'm going to eat for breakfast, the same spirit that guides me in what shirt I'm going to put on today, is the spirit that guides everybody who is in leadership in this country, that they're listening to it, that they're acting in love and kindness and trust and hope and faith and whatever it is they're doing. They are unique and individual personalities, unlike anybody else, just like you and I are. And they're learning who they are. They're growing up in public, too. It's not easy. You know, you and I get to thrash around. It's not easy being in leadership. You and I get to go through our changes and stuff, and only our families and friends and, few people around us see us. That's different a little now. I realize with social media, which thank God was not around when I was a kid. But now everything, right? Everything's on camera and everything's this. But still, imagine if every word you said was a press conference. Imagine if every thought that ran through your mind, you had microphones in your face and it was all recorded for posterity. It's not easy. It's not easy. So a little blessing is called for. A little blessing is called for. And you watch what happens as a result of that. Because love lasts. And that's the man that we celebrate this weekend, who taught us that so many different ways, that love is the greatest force in the universe, which is only a tick or two off from what Ernest Holmes said, which is that love is the only force in the universe. And I think Dr. King believed that too, but he was staring down what appeared unlovely, wasn't he, in the culture, in the world that he knew at his time. So he's saying love is the greatest force and it's going to overcome all of this. Well, it is, and it's the thing that doesn't change. The subjects of love, I guess you might say, change, but the objective nature of it remains pulsing still throughout all creation. And Empires come and go. Civilizations and cultures come and go. We are a young society, man. When you compare what we do in this country to, like, I don't know, every other place on earth pretty much, except maybe, I don't know, Canada. We got a 200 year and change history together. Yeah, they're younger countries, but they have a solidified culture that goes back a lot further than ours. And our country has a lot of fits and starts to it, and the colonialism, and I know all this, you know. But here's where we are. Here's where we are. I'll never forget when Malene Najeri passed, one of our beloved practitioners for years and years and years. And her minister, the minister of the church that she had grown up in Kendleton, Texas, was on this stage. And he got up and he said, "We all come from someplace." And he said a lot of wonderful things about her and her family, you know, most of which I knew. I knew a lot of the stories from her. But the part that really resonated with me and that I took away from that is we all come from someplace. Or as somebody else has put it, many boats brought us here. Many ships brought us here, rather. Now we're all in the same boat, you know. So, right? So we're living in this experience. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to get along? Well, you need a plan. You need a plan. You need a spiritual program. And we've got one. We've got one. It's not dictated by some organization. It's written about in books, but it's not enforced. It's entirely voluntary. It says you go into your prayer space. It builds on the stuff you learned as a little kid in whatever faith tradition you were raised in. Didn't you have parents who said, or caregivers of some kind who said, pray your way to sleep, say God bless mommy and God bless daddy and God bless the neighbors and so on, and you had this long list in your head. And didn't they say something too about bless the teachers you don't like and the schoolyard bully and, you know, the people that are giving you trouble in your life? Bless all of these things. We're building on that. And we're specifying a nature of blessing that's particular. It's unintrusive. It's not I'm blessing you so that I can arm twist you into doing what I want. It's no, I'm blessing you on the path to finding out more of who you are, because when you find out who you are, my world gets better. And that's the dirty little secret that we have here about all this high-minded stuff of I love you and I'm grateful for the good in your life, because when you acknowledge the good in your life, my world gets better. How does that happen? You even drive better. People are nicer to each other out in the world, you know. We don't create all these problems that are so unnecessary to stumble over. We've got enough going on, you know. We got enough with our goals and our bodies and our relationships and everything else that we shouldn't pick fights with each other. So when people know who they are, they don't pick fights with each other. They look for ways to help each other. And that's the kind of world that I look forward to living in. And I see it happening. I see it happening all the time. So there is this changeless thing, and a name that most of us assign to it is God. And as I always say, and it gets really tiresome for me to say it, I hear myself saying it, you don't have to call it God if you don't like the word God. If that bothers you, if it traumatizes you, I respect that, you know. But by now you should know. You can call it anything you want. It won't take offense. Call it something, you know, that resonates well with you, like the divine nature. That's one of my favorites. Source is another. Well, this divine nature, this source, whatever you want to call it, is in fact all there is. And there are two ways of looking at that. I mentioned a dual nature in here. There's a macrocosmic way and a microcosmic way. And I had a passage of scripture run through my head, which doesn't often happen, but it did. And I thought, where was that? And I looked it up, and I found this, and it's from John 1:3. You know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Okay, well, the next verse is God made, I'm doing this from memory here, God made everything that is, and nothing was made that God didn't make. And it comes out that, give me a second here. All things were made by him, right? And without him was not anything made that was made. If you thought it sounded awkward when I did it from memory, it sounds even more awkward when I read you the actual passage, right? And any editor or English teacher would hand this back to you and say, this is redundant. You just said God made everything, and then you say nothing was made that God didn't make. So is that a mistake? Well, Bible lore being what it is, it passed through many hands. It was written in Greek. It was translated, the Latin Vulgate, and on and on and on. Leaving all of that aside for the moment, look at that passage as a macrocosmic, microcosmic thing. That is to say, everything that was made by God. That's like you looking out at the heavens on a starry night, like the full moon night earlier this week. And you seeing, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. You know that old hymn? Well, that's the macrocosmic. Wow. And here I am, this so small and puny, and here's this spectacular scenario, this like planetarium looking thing out there that it made. Okay, well that's true, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful sentiment. But then it's time to get up and go to work. And you need another way of looking at it that's just as true, but more immediate, more useful. And that is, there is nothing made that was not made by that one, including my toaster, including my computer, including everything about me, the minutiae of life, the tiny little details of life, all fall under that one. And it has as much attention to those things because it is infinite, limitless in its scope. It pays as much attention to these things as it does to the big sweeping grand night sky. There is nothing and no one that I will ever encounter who was not made by that same life. It also exists outside of time. If I were to come back here in 10,000 years or 100,000 years or to whatever the earth is going to become or wherever sentient life will be located at the time, maybe we're on Mars by then, or some of us are, or who knows, because we can't begin to imagine what life was like 100,000 years ago. We're still piecing that together, and they're still finding new things. But if you go way off into the future, in your imagination, the same power that you pray to, the same power that you pray in today will be right there, being what it is, unchanged. And it will receive the direct impress of your thought, and it will act upon it. It will act upon it without hesitation, and certainly without argument. It will take what you give it, and it will run with it. That's how it manifests the Word. So I think I told you, I had somebody one time ask me, what is the Word? And it was like, who do I have to know to get the Word? Like it was an actual word. Like it was made up of syllables and letters, and there was a specific word, and if they had that word like abracadabra, the walls would swing open and all their good would be delivered. And I had to explain it was a metaphor. Speaking the word with a capital W means directing intention in consciousness into a particular form, navigating it into a particular form where it picks up what it needs in terms of creative and dynamic energy, and it presents itself in your living room. It presents itself as something. Where we often look for that to happen is in the material realm. We say, well, we've been over this before many times, if I had more money, if I had more friends, if I had more this or that or the other thing, if I had more time, that's a big one, Let me get some more years in here, then everything would be fine, when what we're really after is a feeling. What we're really after is a feeling, but we've been coached by a culture that tells us that feelings and forms are interchangeable. They are not. Form follows feeling. It never it never effectively, dependably precedes feeling. Once in a while you get lucky, and you win the $1 million and you feel rich, or somebody says I love you and you love them back and you're happy. And once in a while, that all of that falls out that way. But normally what happens is you got to feel rich first, you got to feel loving first, you got to do the work inside first before the form shows up that corresponds to it. So the form is not a huge win when it shows up and corresponds to it. It's a confirmation. It's a confirmation, like any other confirmation, like when you book a hotel room and they send you an email and they say these letters and numbers. This is your confirmation number. If you show up at the desk and they don't know who you are, you give them this. Well, it's a confirmation that you have done something here. You've directed your consciousness along certain lines, and it's produced this particular set of outcomes for you. And if you don't like the outcomes that have been produced, what you may want to do is track back and see, well, what was I investing myself in? Now, let me point out that this is not a one-off kind of deal. This is not where, don't get superstitious, please, about it. You never want to trade one superstition for another. It does you no good at all. It's complete parallel movement, So if you say to yourself, well, my life is a mess. Oh, God, what did I just say? And now I put it out there, and we even use the expression, I put it out there to the universe. And the universe is like, aha! You were negative. Give me that. And it takes that, and it's, now I'm going to create all kinds of chaos for you. Where on the other hand, you have to say, I love and I bless everybody, and I love and I bless everybody. And where's the universe then? You hear crickets. The universe is nowhere around picking that up, right? But one wrong word out of you, right? Curtains, doom. No, baloney. That's old way of thinking. You might as well have a devil in the mix, And they're only fun at Halloween. It's the direction. I'll quote Ernest Holmes for you, the birthday boy. I'll quote Ernest 138. He says, what you manifest today and tomorrow and next week is not as important as, you can almost say it with me, the general tendency that your thought is taking, the general tendency that your life is taking. Are you winning? Are you progressing in a sense of comfort and, accomplishment in your life? Then good on you. Good on you. We work on the feeling. And that, my friends, is the tricky part of all of this, which next week's talk will entirely concern itself with. Is the tricky part is to, like I got into last week, that we've been taught to put stuff in exactly backward order. Of if you give me some things, then I'll have them, okay? And I'll do certain things with them, like give me enough money and I'll build my dreams, and then I'll be somebody. That's what we've been taught, directly and indirectly, by the culture. How it really works? Completely the other way around. You start with being. You start with being. And the having and the doing follow from that. Seek you first. Go back to Jesus for a moment. Seek you first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. What does that mean? Do your spiritual work. Feel yourself to be one with your source, the way he felt he was one with his Father. Didn't he? And he said all the time, it is not I, but the Father within who does the works. And the disciples and everybody are looking for, how's he doing this? How's he pulling this off? What trick, the light, what smoke and mirrors is he using for this? No, it is not I. It's not my ego. It's not my charm. Not my good looks. It's none of this. It's the Father within. It's what he called him. What he called the divine nature. It is the power within me that is doing the works. So what that means is the power within you is the power to feel as though you are connected to the creative process of the universe that is ongoing, that is manifesting through you, that you are, in fact, a new word I want to introduce to you, some of you it'll be new to, godling. You are a godling. I want to say, and they'll find out on our research desk here, but I want to say that it was Dr. Noel McGinnis, who was a friend and classmate of mine and longtime religious science minister, who coined that. If he didn't coin it, he at least popularized it, that we are godlings. That's the relationship that we have with spirit. What is a godling? Well, it's like a sapling or a yearling. Ling, I guess, means as a suffix, young. growing a sprout, So we are, know ye not that ye are gods. Well, we're all godlings. We're all coming into full possession of our spiritual natures. And as we do that, we start to feel like we belong here, and we start to feel, dare I say, entitled to the good things of life. We start to feel like we have a connection. We have, as Edwin Gaines, I think it was, used to say, we have a wealthy father. In other words, we are not grandchildren, we're not distant relatives of the source. We are incarnations of the source. If you want to put it in a family structure, we're the children of God, but we're grown-up children, We are co-creators. We are making our own decisions. We are forging our own path within spirit. When you feel that, your life works better. How do you work on feeling that? Go home and think about it. Start thinking about what you want to create in your life at the level of feeling. How do you know what to create in your life? I keep answering my own question. How do you know what to create in your life at the level of feeling? Look at the anxiety that you have, and what would you put in its place? That's not a half bad place to start, is look at what's troubling you and what would go there instead. And if you can't think of what would go there instead, it's telling you that you're kind of invested in the trouble. There's a spiritual psychology to all this. It's another long story, but what it basically means is that we get to depend on our limitations sometimes because they give structure to life. I can't do this and that and the other thing because I'm limited. Well, that gives me perimeters. It gives me a place in which to live, but it's a limiting place. I mean, the walls close in on you. You want something greater than that for yourself. So what would you put in place of this? If you have a chronic fear of the future, what was it like before you had that? When you were a little kid. And if this was the case for you when you were a little kid. It was for many of us when we moved away from it. Not all children have that experience. I recognize this. But you've heard of kids who did, and you've heard of times in your life. You know of times in your life when you've had that sort of experience. Where, I don't know, it's like your parents say, well, maybe next summer we'll go to Disney World. And there's like no promise to that. And you're not even entirely clear what Disney World is, but you're excited about it and you can't sleep. And all year you're like counting down the days till this magical thing happens. Wouldn't you like to have that feeling? Forget Disney World and all the particulars of it. Wouldn't you like to have that feeling again? Wouldn't you like to have that feeling that I'm on the way? I'm not there yet maybe, but the next corner I turn I could bump right into my good. Would you like to have that feeling? And what you got to do is start softening up the interior of you. Let it be all right. Have some tears. Feel your feelings. And ask yourself, what would I put in the place of this so that I could absolutely thrive? You do that, some spectacular things are going to happen for you and the people around you. You're going to magnetize people and situations to you. You're going to get the opportunity to fail on a large stage, by which I mean you're going to get to go out for the school play, and now you got lines to learn, and then it's opening night, and then there's an audience, and they're all sitting there looking at you. And am I going to remember and it's a challenge. You're going to get challenged. You know what one person put, I think this was Margaret Storts, who said, what happens is in life, it's not that all your problems go away, it's that you get bigger ones. You get bigger problems. Oh my God, could you stand that? Like what kind of problems? Like the stuff these people sang about, Brian and the musicians just sang about, Like nuclear war, like saving the planet, like peace on earth, like healing racism and division and how these are bigger problems. Wouldn't you rather have problems like that than a bad knee or I don't know, or that's not even a good example. The chronic worries that we have. Well, I'm fine today, but I could run out of money. I'm fine today, but all my friends might decide they don't like me. I'm fine today, but this and this and this could happen. Wouldn't you like to look outside yourself? Wouldn't you like to get out of being so self-absorbed? And therein lies a terrific paradox, I guess you'd say, to this teaching, is that whereas it looks like we're spending an awful lot of time thinking about our own stuff, thinking about our own process and our own mind and all. It's really so that we can be of greater service to the world. We can stand there in a conversation with somebody and not be all about, do they like me? What are they thinking of me? You know, and you can listen. You can listen and you can do your work without constant intrusion of negativity and self-criticism. I've been watching this series, Ken Burns, on Leonardo da Vinci. Fascinating. Oh my God, it's fascinating. I could fill the rest of the afternoon with stories about the stuff I've learned here. And one of the things is that da Vinci left all of these works unfinished. He was contracted to do these illustrate passages from the Bible, the Annunciation to Mary and the visitation of the Magi and so on. And a number of these great big things he was working on, he left unfinished. Why? He wasn't satisfied. He wasn't satisfied with how he captured the light just so. One of the amazing things is he had all of these characters, like when the wise men visit, right? You know, and he's got shepherds and random people from the inn. He's got like 20 people in a semicircle around behind the mother and child, and there's an angel there and stuff. And every one of them has a different expression on their face. And how you do that, I don't know. And one of them looks skeptical, and one of them looks shocked, and on and on and on. And he looked at all of this, and he thought, this is not acceptable. And he put it away. And every other artist who's ever looked at that, every art critic, every art professor, every art lover who's ever looked at that work says it's a miracle. It is the greatest piece of art they've ever seen in their life. It was a turning point in the entire history of art, the way this man was able to capture light and expression and form and the sinews in the hand and in the neck and so on. And he wasn't satisfied with it. Well, that's his problem, okay? Because we look at it and we say it's just great. You don't want to be, with all due respect to Da Vinci, the genius of an individual that he was, you want to be able to hand off your work and say, hey, I did the best I could. I did the best I could. And not have this kind of neurotic thing hanging over you that it's never enough, that it's never enough, that it's never enough. His father was a painter. There were a lot of painters in the area. It's a lot of competition, a lot of self-judgment that goes on. How do you do that? See, one thing he lacked was a spiritual program. They make this clear that he didn't believe. He didn't believe. And he didn't have to be a Catholic. Well, you pretty much did in those days. But, you know, he didn't have to follow some particular path, but he didn't really have a spiritual focus as much as he had this artistic and natural focus. And so that was kind of a missing thing for him. He wasn't terrifically happy. He wasn't terrifically happy. And you think somebody like that, they have a right to be happy. My God, look at how much happiness they're bringing everybody else. So my point here is to go into your process and say, so where are my unhealed energies? Where are my rough edges? And what would I put in their place? And will I start now? Will I start today by knowing something, by affirming something? I got a passage for you from Dr. King, who says that love is the greatest force in the universe. It is the heartbeat of the moral cosmos. One who loves is a participant in the being of God. One who loves is a participant in the being of God. That's the microcosmic value there. It's how I can do my part, how I can be a pillar in the temple, is by loving myself, loving my life, loving my intentions and my goals, loving where they're going to lead, and loving the world that we're all creating together. So let's know together now this thing through spiritual mind treatment, knowing there is one life, one power, one presence, pure spirit, everywhere available, accessible, pouring itself out ceaselessly. I affirm it, I know it, and I use it. I use its creative law every time I think and feel. And I choose love. I choose unconditional love, or as nearly unconditional as I can make it. Love without expectation, love without demand. I love the leaders of this country. I love the souls that they are the timeless and infinite godlings, made of the same life as me. I love that they're on a journey of self-discovery through service in some form. And I affirm and know that all are safe and guided and protected. I affirm and know that my fellow humans are all safe and guided and protected in the cities, in the valleys, in the fields, wherever humans congregate. The power is centered there. For spirit is a circle whose center is everywhere, whose circumference is nowhere. Spirit is a circle, and that circle takes in all life of equal value, cherishes each one of us. This is not so because I say it's so. It's not an opinion. It's not an observation. It is the truth of all life. How else could it be? And every faith system on this earth knows it and says so. For if God is all that it is cracked up to be, it must be everywhere and everything all at once simultaneously. Therefore, it goes with me, as me, in everything I do. And for this knowing, and for this opportunity to express this knowing and live this knowing in my life and in all my days, I am so incredibly grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
It's all Lisa, every time she gets out of that chair.
I mean, I got the thing hanging on the back. I did wear a sweater today, so that's not helping.
Well, I'm just going to have to rub you down.
There you go.
I did. Spray me down with. Oh, I walked up here with my phone and without my glasses. This is going to be fun. No, I don't need them. I don't even need the phone. They're sitting right there. Yeah, no. Because I'm not David, right? I like to get up here and tell people who I'm not. Obviously, I'm not David, right? Why am I not David? David is teaching some kind of online course or something for the next 3 weeks. And so we kind of threw rock, paper, scissors. No, we didn't. I just said I would do the announcements. And now, here's the you know what? When you go through ministerial school, this is the part they hammer you on, and no minister likes to do it. But this is the part where we say, hey, you know what? If you like what we're doing here, throw us a little something to help us keep doing it. And so what I'm going to say is you can either take your gift in hand or metaphorically take your gift in hand. I'm one of the, hey, let me just give you my credit card and you can do it once a month people, which is an option, by the way. There's a form you can fill out, and once a month, he runs your credit card for your stated amount. It's a fabulous way to do it. Take your gift in hand and join me and say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And my last responsibility is my favorite, and I remembered my glasses this time. Because a friend of mine posted this poem yesterday, and I think it's appropriate for the new year. I want to wear something new, but not shoes or a dress. I want to put on some reckless joy that is much too big for me, and so brightly colored that I become unrecognizable. And that is J.K. Kennedy. It is posted on the Facebook page as of yesterday. Reckless joy. I like to say we want to live, that we want to love recklessly. We don't want to live recklessly, but we want to love recklessly. Because we are loving from a source that is inexhaustible. The love that we are loving with is coming through us, not from us. And it will never run out. And that is the amazing thing that I encourage to take with you into that sacred moment when you acknowledge the good in your life and know with me that there is one power, one presence, one life, one love. And that each and every one of us are the divine channels through which that love enters into this world. And so I speak my word now for all of those people stepping into leadership positions, stepping into the servitude to the country where they become the servant leaders to guide our country. If this is a new position or if they've been doing it for a while, that they know who they are, that they know that they are godlings, that they know that they are guided by that divine love. From the top down to the local positions. And I know that for every living being walking this planet, that we know that we are divine love in motion. And that we love that divine love and watch the amazing things happen. I speak my word now for the people in California as they navigate this new world that they are living in. I speak my word that the resources are already on their way. And I speak my word for all of us here in this area who may become little children on Tuesday. That we use wisdom and love to guide the choices we make on Tuesday. With the reminder that we don't have salt trucks and we don't have snow plows. Because we don't need them most of the time. May we all be safe and warm as we have this experience, whatever it turns out to be. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. I am grateful for a teaching that teaches me who I am. I am grateful for a teaching that teaches me to look in the mirror and see God looking back at me. To look into each and every one of your eyes and see God looking back at me. I am grateful for a community that comes together to remind each other of that fact. I am grateful for each and every one of you. I am grateful for our practitioners, our ministers, our musicians, the technology that allows us to send this out across the universe. And I am grateful because it is simply another word for love. And I release my word knowing that it is done. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
I love
So it is.
it. So it is.
Beautifully done, everyone. Beautifully done.